Yo, this is crazy, man. And I'm serious when I say this. Floyd Mayweather, one of the greatest boxers of all time, a man who literally made close to $1 billion in his boxing career, is now facing felony charges for writing a bad check. And not just any bad check, a $200,000 bad check for a luxury watch. This is the kind of thing that doesn't make sense until you start looking at the bigger picture. And when you do look at it, it's actually devastating. So here's what happened. On December 31st, 2024, literally New Year's Eve, Floyd Mayweather wrote a $200,000 check from a Wells Fargo bank account to a Las Vegas luxury resale store called Gold & Beyond. He was buying an Audemars Piguet watch. Beautiful watch, expensive watch. But here's the problem. Floyd wrote that check knowing he didn't have sufficient funds in his account to cover it. He wrote that check knowing it was gonna bounce. And he did it intentionally. That's fraud. That's a felony. And now in April 2026, he's been formally charged with 2 felonies, theft and drawing and passing a check without sufficient funds with the intent to defraud. If he's found guilty, Floyd could be facing 1 to 4 years in prison.
Options. I got about 100 cars, but right here, we like to call this the Sweet 16. Lambo, Ferrari, Lambo, Maybach, a Maybach, whatever you want to call it. Of course, the McLaren, the original McLaren.
Plus up to a $5,000 fine, plus restitution costs. This is the reality for one of the greatest boxers to ever live. But what really gets me is the story behind it. According to the attorney for the jeweler, the reason there was a delay between when Floyd bought the watch in December 2024 and when charges were filed in April 2026 is because the jeweler trusted Floyd. He actually trusted him. He thought Floyd was gonna pay him back. He gave Floyd every opportunity to make it right, but Floyd never responded. Floyd never paid. He just ignored the jeweler for over a year. They had that watch, a $200,000 watch for over a year. And Floyd wasn't responding to calls, wasn't responding to anything. The jeweler finally had no choice. He had to press charges. Think about that for a second. This jeweler gave Floyd multiple chances. He was patient, he was understanding, and Floyd basically just ghosted him while sitting on his watch. That's disrespectful. That's arrogant. That's the behavior of someone who thinks the rules don't apply to them. And here's what makes it even worse. This isn't an isolated incident. This is just one case that went public. Floyd has at least 4 civil cases in 4 different states where people are claiming he owes them money. He got sued over unpaid rent at a Manhattan apartment. He's got disputes with multiple jewelers. And the IRS filed a $7.3 million tax lien against him for unpaid taxes from 2018 and 2023. $7.3 million in unpaid taxes. And this is a guy who made almost $1 billion. This tells me something. This tells me that Floyd's problem isn't that he lost his money in bad investments or bad business deals, although that might be poke.
Get the fuck out of here. Floyd definitely ain't broke.
No, he's broke.
Floyd broke. Floyd broke might be. Floyd going low.
No, he's broke. He owes money, bro.
I already talked about this. Floyd went from
All right, let me show you
1.5 billion to maybe he had 500 million. They call that broke. It ain't broke. He probably still got 10 cars, 10 cribs. You know what I'm saying?
He doesn't have
500 million in his bank.
Okay, look, let me show you something right here.
Okay.
These people on Instagram, they went to Floyd Mayweather's gym, he owes 30K. And then they went to his strip, he owes another 30K. They went to his other place, boom, his Skate Rock City. But look, I like Floyd as a fighter, but he's
part of it. Floyd's problem is that he doesn't pay his bills. He doesn't believe the rules apply to him. He thinks he can just ignore obligations and people will go away, but they don't. Eventually, it catches up with you. Eventually, you're facing felony charges. Now I want to talk about the bigger context here. For decades, Floyd Mayweather was synonymous with wealth, with flexing, with that lavish lifestyle. He had 100 cars, not 10, not 50, 100 cars. He had private jets. He had jewelry that cost millions. He was taking women on lavish trips to Paris. He was constantly on Instagram showing off his wealth. This was his brand. This was his identity. Money made. That's what they called him. And listen, I'm not against people enjoying their money. That's not what I'm saying. If you earned it, spend it. Enjoy it. Have nice things. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's a critical difference between enjoying your money and being irresponsible with your obligations. There's a massive difference between having a nice lifestyle and actively not paying your taxes. There's a serious difference between flexing and committing fraud. There's a gap between having wealth and actually being a responsible person with wealth. Because here's the thing, when you're making that much money, you gotta have financial advisors, you gotta have accountants, you gotta have people handling your money. And if Floyd had people like that, then the question becomes, where did they go? Did he fire them? Did he not listen to their advice? Or did he just decide he was above paying his obligations? The timeline here is interesting too. The IRS lien shows unpaid taxes from 2018 and 2023. So he wasn't paying taxes in 2018. Then apparently things were okay for a bit. But then in 2023, he wasn't paying again. That's a pattern. That's intentional. That's not a mistake. You don't accidentally not pay $7.3 million in taxes. And then he gets charged with fraud in 2026 for a check he wrote in 2024. So we're talking about a guy who's been having financial problems and legal problems for years, but instead of addressing those problems, instead of getting his finances in order, he's still out here buying $200,000 watches, still trying to maintain that same lifestyle, still flexing the same way. That's the thing that gets me. You'd think after all these lawsuits, after all these problems, after the IRS is coming after you, you'd scale back, you'd be more careful, you'd think about the consequences. But Floyd seems to be doing the opposite. He's actually coming out of retirement and taking fights. Fights that don't make sense for a 49-year-old former champion. He's fighting in Dubai. He's fighting in Thailand. He's taking exhibition fights against kickboxers. Why? Because he needs the money. He made close to $1 billion, Floyd. Close to $1 billion. And now you're fighting kickboxers at 49 because you need money to cover your obligations. That's how bad it's gotten. And listen,
Floyd was hit by the IRS with a $7.3 million lien for unpaid taxes for 2018 and 2023. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, that says something to me. This may not mean he's broke, because I'm sure he had money in 2018 and still ain't paying his taxes. This may just be a nigga that don't pay his taxes all the time. Something may happen. But when you compile it with other things, it makes you ask questions, you feel me? So the Business Insider has been studying this shit. They said the agency filed a lien against the boxer who is embarking on a lucrative comeback. The boxer was recently sued for other allegedly unpaid bills. And that's interesting when you think about that point, you know? They said the lien was filed last month in Las Vegas, where Mayweather has property. The notice shows the balance was unpaid as of March 26. An attorney for Mayweather declined to comment on it. The lien, through which the government can lay claim to Mayweather's property until the bill is paid, is the latest in a series of debts the 49-year-old fighter has accumulated, as Business Insider has.
Get it. There's probably some bad business partners involved. The document mentions he's suing his former business manager for $175 million, alleging fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. He's also suing Showtime for $340 million. So maybe there's stuff he's dealing with behind the scenes. Maybe some of this is due to bad advice or bad partnerships. I don't know the full story. But at a certain point, you gotta take responsibility. You gotta look in the mirror and say, I should have paid more attention to my finances. I should have had better systems in place. I should have been more careful. Instead, Floyd seems to be in denial about the whole thing. And what really bothers me is how he's trying to handle it. He's back on Instagram calling out business partners, calling them liars and thieves and rats. He's talking recklessly on social media. He's venting about his business disputes publicly instead of handling them through his legal team. He's putting his business out there for the world to see. That's not how you handle serious legal problems. That's how you make them exponentially worse. That's how you give prosecutors more ammunition against you. That's how you damage your reputation even further beyond the felony charges already on your record. The jeweler's attorney had to come out and publicly explain why they pressed charges. He had to publicly defend his client for pursuing justice and enforcing the law, because of course Floyd's people are trying to make this look like the jeweler's fault somehow. But the facts are completely clear and undeniable. Floyd wrote a bad check knowing it was bad. He knew the check would bounce before he even handed it over. He didn't respond to the jeweler's legitimate attempts to collect payment. The jeweler gave him multiple chances. He gave him over a year. The jeweler had absolutely no choice but to pursue legal action. Now, let me talk about 50 Cent for a second. 50 posted on social media saying, "Damn, champ, what the is up? If you need some money, just call me. We could have kept this from getting this messy. Now the Fed's looking for you. Love you, bro. I'm not mad at you no more. Call me." And look, I understand why 50 would post this. They have history. They've had their differences, but they also have respect for each other as legends. But let's be real. This post is 50 clowning Floyd. This isn't a genuine offer of help. If 50 genuinely wanted to help Floyd with his money problems, he wouldn't do it on social media. He'd reach out privately. He'd help handle it quietly. But instead, he's posting it publicly, drawing attention to Floyd's financial troubles, which just makes Floyd look worse. It's subtle, but it's a diss. And the fact that Floyd is in a position where he'd actually need to call 50 Cent for money, a man who he's had conflicts with, that says everything about how far he's fallen. That says everything about the reality of his situation. The crazy thing is that Floyd is one of the most skilled boxers to ever do it. His defensive abilities were legendary. His ring IQ was unmatched. He was the best at not getting hit. He was the best at making millions of dollars. And yet when it comes to managing his actual money, managing his real finances, managing his obligations to society, he's been terrible. He's reckless, he's irresponsible, he's negligent in ways that now have legal consequences. You'd think someone who could navigate the complex political landscape of professional boxing, who can negotiate massive multi-million-dollar fight deals, who could build a brand worth hundreds of millions of dollars, you'd think that person will be able to manage their personal finances effectively. You'd think the same skills that made him rich would help him stay rich. But apparently not. Floyd was so focused on making money and flexing his wealth that he never actually learned how to keep it. He never learned how to be responsible with it. He never understood that with great wealth comes great responsibility. Responsibility to pay your taxes, responsibility to honor your commitments, responsibility to be an adult about your obligations. And that's a lesson right there. Making money and keeping money are two different things. Building wealth and maintaining wealth are different skills. Floyd was brilliant at one. He's been terrible at the other. Now he's facing felony charges. His court hearing is scheduled for September 2026. He could actually go to prison for this. He's 49 years old. His boxing career should be behind him completely. He should be enjoying his wealth, enjoying his hard-earned legacy, spending time with his family, giving back to the community. Instead, he's fighting kickboxers and other exhibition matches he has no business being in. And he's dealing with serious criminal charges that could result in federal prison time. This is what happens when you live like the rules don't apply to you. This is what happens when you think money makes you untouchable. This is what happens when you ignore responsibilities. Eventually, reality catches up to you. Eventually, the chickens come home to roost. And now Floyd Mayweather, one of the greatest boxers of all time, is dealing with the real consequences of a lifetime of irresponsibility. The sad part is his legacy is going to be tainted by this. People aren't just going to remember him for his ring achievements anymore. They're going to remember him for being broke, for writing bad checks, for not paying his taxes, for taking desperate fights at 49, for all of this. And that's a shame because his boxing legacy is genuinely legendary. But this is the path he chose. And now he's got to live with the consequences. Peace.